Have you ever heard of a warrior so feared by his enemies that his very name would send shockwaves across empires? A man who fought in over 100 battles and never once suffered defeat? This is no legend, but the true story of Khalid ibn al-Walid, may Allah be pleased with him, whom Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, honored with the title Sayfullah, the sword of Allah. His life was not only about courage and strategy, but also about faith, humility, and complete submission to the will of Allah. Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers, how are you doing today? Welcome to the Path of Peace. Today we will journey into the life of one of the greatest military leaders in history. Khalid ibn al-Walid, may Allah be pleased with him, was not only a warrior who shook the foundations of the Roman and Persian empires, but also a servant of Allah whose legacy continues to inspire Muslims worldwide. His story is filled with drama, transformation, and lessons that are as relevant today as they were 1,400 years ago. A lion before Islam? To truly understand the courage of Khalid ibn al-Walid, may Allah be pleased with him, we must begin before Islam entered his heart. Born into the powerful clan of Banu Makhzum in Makkah, Khalid grew up surrounded by wealth, privilege, and the traditions of Quraysh. His father, al-Walid ibn Mughira, was one of the chiefs of Quraysh and a man known for his pride and wealth. From an early age, Khalid was trained in horsemanship, archery, and the art of war. In the deserts of Arabia, survival often depended on strength and military skill, and Khalid excelled in both. Even before Islam, Khalid was admired as one of the most promising young men of Makkah. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with a commanding presence. People knew him as a fearless rider, a master of the sword, and a genius in battlefield tactics. By his early 20s, he had already earned a reputation among his people as one of the finest warriors of Quraysh. But Khalid's early years were marked by opposition to Islam. When Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, began calling people to the worship of Allah alone, Khalid was among those who resisted. At the Battle of Uhud, it was Khalid's cavalry that turned the tide against the Muslims after the archers disobeyed the Prophet's command and left their post. His maneuver at Uhud is still studied by historians as an example of battlefield genius. At that moment, Khalid was seen as one of the greatest threats to the Muslims. Yet, Allah had written for him a future far greater than he could imagine. The same man who once stood against the Prophet would soon become his strongest defender. The sword awakens. Khalid accepts Islam, the turning point. Years passed after Uhud. The Muslims grew stronger under the leadership of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, and Quraysh realized that the message of Islam was not fading. Khalid ibn al-Walid, may Allah be pleased with him, watched closely. He was a man of strategy, and what he saw amazed him. Despite all odds, despite the constant attacks from Quraysh and other tribes, the Muslims not only survived, but thrived. In his heart, Khalid began to wonder, what secret gives these Muslims such strength? He had fought against them. He had seen their discipline, their unity, and their unshakable faith in Allah. Unlike the divided tribes of Arabia, the Muslims seemed bound together by something far greater. It is reported that Khalid, may Allah be pleased with him, began to feel restless. He said once, by Allah, it is clear that this matter, Islam, will rise. It is only a matter of time. Then came the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. Quraysh signed a peace agreement with the Prophet, allowing Muslims to live in security. For Khalid, this was yet another sign that Islam was destined for greatness. His heart softened, but pride still held him back. The dream. One night, Khalid, may Allah be pleased with him, had a dream. In his dream, he found himself in a dark desert. Suddenly, the moon rose high in the sky, shining with a brilliance that lit everything around him. Khalid walked toward the moon, and as he did, he saw Abu Bakr and Umar, may Allah be pleased with them both, walking ahead of him. He understood the meaning. The light was Islam, and he was being called toward it. The decision. By now, Khalid's heart was ready. He spoke to himself, by Allah, I know that Islam is true. It is only my arrogance that has kept me away. Enough of this hesitation. He made his way toward Medina. On the road, he met Amr ibn al-As and Uthman ibn Talha, may Allah be pleased with them, who were also heading to accept Islam. Together they entered the blessed city. When Khalid ibn al-Walid, may Allah be pleased with him, stood before Prophet Muhammad, his heart trembled. This was the man he once fought against, the man he once swore to destroy. Yet here he was, ready to submit. With humility he said, "O Messenger of Allah, I testify that there is no God but Allah, and you are the Messenger of Allah." The Prophet looked at Khalid with kindness and said, "Praise be to Allah who has guided you. I always knew, Khalid, that you had intelligence and that it would lead you to Islam." Khalid, with tears in his eyes, then said, "O Messenger of Allah, I have done much against you. Pray for me that Allah will forgive me for what is past." The Prophet replied with mercy, "Islam wipes away everything before it." From that day forward, Khalid ibn al-Walid, may Allah be pleased with him, became not just a Muslim, but one of the greatest defenders of Islam. First battles as a Muslim, the Battle of Mu'tah. Khalid's true test came soon after. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, sent an army of 3,000 Muslims to confront the Romans at Mu'tah, in present-day Jordan. The enemy numbered more than 100,000. Leading the army was Zayd ibn Haritha, may Allah be pleased with him. When he was martyred, command passed to Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, may Allah be pleased with him, who also fell a martyr. Then Abdullah ibn Rawaha, may Allah be pleased with him, took command and was also martyred. The Muslims faced disaster. 3 commanders had fallen, the enemy was overwhelming, and the army was on the verge of collapse. It was then that the Muslims cried out for Khalid ibn al-Walid, may Allah be pleased with him, to take command. Though it was his first battle as a Muslim, Khalid stepped forward with the confidence of a seasoned general. He quickly reorganized the army. Using clever maneuvers, he made it appear as if reinforcements had arrived. He led fierce charges, creating confusion among the Romans. By nightfall, the Muslims were able to withdraw safely without being annihilated. In this battle, Khalid broke 9 swords in his hand. His ferocity was unmatched. When the Muslims returned to Medina, some people criticized them for retreating, but the Prophet silenced them, saying, "No, they are not retreaters. They are advancing. And Khalid is a sword among the swords of Allah, and Allah has made him victorious." From that day, he was forever known as Sayfullah, the sword of Allah. The sword strikes, Hunain, Ridda, and Yamama, the Battle of Hunain. Soon after the conquest of Makkah, Islam faced another test. A powerful confederation of tribes, including Hawazin and Thaqif, gathered to crush the Muslims. Their numbers were great, their pride unshaken. They met the Muslims in the valley of Hunain. At first, the Muslims were surprised by a sudden ambush. Chaos spread, and some began to retreat. But at the heart of the battle stood the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, calling out, "I am the messenger of Allah. I am the son of Abdul Muttalib. Come to me, O servants of Allah." The companions rallied around him. Among them was Khalid ibn al-Walid, may Allah be pleased with him, commanding a unit of cavalry. Though he was struck with wounds during the fighting, he refused to retreat. His leadership helped restore order, and soon the Muslims launched a counterattack that shattered the enemy lines. Hunain ended in a decisive Muslim victory. For Khalid, Hunain was a moment to prove his loyalty. He had once fought against the Prophet at Uhud. Now he fought by his side, bleeding and wounded, but unshaken in his faith. The passing of the Prophet. Not long after Hunain, the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, returned to his Lord. For the companions, this was the greatest loss of their lives. But Islam had to move forward. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, may Allah be pleased with him, was chosen as the first caliph. And in those difficult days it was Khalid ibn al-Walid, may Allah be pleased with him, who would play a crucial role in protecting the young Muslim Ummah. The Ridda Wars, crushing apostasy. After the Prophet passed away, many tribes in Arabia rebelled. Some refused to pay zakah, others followed false prophets. The unity of Islam was under threat. Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, showed incredible firmness. He said, By Allah, if they withhold from me even a rope they used to give to the messenger of Allah, I will fight them for it. To enforce this, he sent Khalid ibn al-Walid, may Allah be pleased with him, to lead the Muslim armies. One of the greatest threats was Musaylima the liar, who falsely claimed prophethood in Yamama. He gathered tens of thousands of followers. Against him marched the Muslims, led by Khalid. The Battle of Yamama. The battle was fierce. The Muslims faced a massive army in the gardens of Yamama. At first, the Muslims struggled. The false prophet's forces fought with desperation. Many companions were martyred, including hundreds of memorizers of the Quran. But Khalid ibn al-Walid, may Allah be pleased with him, refused to accept defeat. He rallied the Muslims with powerful words. Separate yourselves from the people. Fight them with the sword, not with hesitation. Victory is from Allah alone. He reorganized the army into disciplined units. Step by step, they pushed Musaylima's forces back until they were trapped inside the walled garden known as Hadikat al-Maut, the Garden of Death. Inside that garden, one of the most dramatic moments of Islamic history took place. A companion named Al-Bara ibn Malik, may Allah be pleased with him, called out, "Throw me over the wall." The Muslims lifted him on their shields and hurled him into the garden. He fought his way through and opened the gate. The Muslims stormed in and chaos erupted. Musaylima the liar was finally killed by Washi ibn Harb, the same man who had once killed Hamza ibn Abdul Muttalib, may Allah be pleased with him, at Uhud. The victory at Yamama was costly but decisive. It crushed the greatest rebellion against Islam and preserved the unity of the Muslim Ummah. And at its heart was the discipline and strategy of Khalid ibn al-Walid, may Allah be pleased with him. The sword against Persia. With Arabia secured, Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, turned his eyes toward the great empires that threatened the Muslims, Persia in the east and Rome in the west. Khalid ibn al-Walid, may Allah be pleased with him, was sent to confront the Persians. One by one, he defeated their armies. At the Battle of Elays, the Muslims faced overwhelming Persian forces. Khalid, may Allah be pleased with him, fought with such intensity that the battlefield became known as the River of Blood. His speed, mobility, and daring tactics terrified the Persians. It was said that Khalid could march his army across deserts at impossible speeds, striking where the enemy least expected. His campaigns in Iraq showed the world that the Muslims were not just a tribal people, they were a rising force with discipline, courage, and faith that could shake empires. Against the Romans, the Battle of Yarmouk, the Ramon Challenge. After Khalid ibn al-Walid, may Allah be pleased with him, crushed the Persian armies in Iraq, Caliph Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, may Allah be pleased with him, gave him a new mission, marched to Syria, where the mighty Roman Empire was preparing for war. The Romans had ruled Syria for centuries. They were experienced, disciplined, and heavily armed. Their generals believed the Muslims were nothing more than desert tribes who could be easily defeated, but they had not yet faced the genius of Khalid ibn al-Walid. The march across the desert. When Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, ordered Khalid to move from Iraq to Syria, the most direct routes were impossible, controlled by enemies or barren wastelands. Yet Khalid, may Allah be pleased with him, chose a daring march across a deadly desert where no army had ever traveled before. He divided his troops, rationed water carefully, and marched for days without rest. At one point, when water ran out, he ordered camels to be slaughtered and their stomachs filled with water for the soldiers to drink. It was a brilliant maneuver that saved the army and brought them across the desert alive. When Khalid arrived in Syria, the Muslim forces were struggling against the massive Roman armies. His arrival turned the tide. The Battle of Yarmouk. In the year 636 CE, the Muslims faced the Romans in what would become one of the most decisive battles in history, Yarmouk. The Romans gathered more than 200,000 soldiers, including heavily armed infantry, cavalry, and allies from different tribes. The Muslims had barely 40,000 men. On paper, it was hopeless. But numbers don't decide wars, faith and strategy do. Khalid ibn al-Walid, may Allah be pleased with him, took command. He reorganized the Muslim army, dividing it into disciplined units, placing veterans at critical positions and ensuring every soldier knew their role. His calm confidence inspired the men. The opening days. The battle stretched over several days. The Romans attacked fiercely, pressing the Muslims back. At one point, some Muslim soldiers were driven to the edge of retreat. But Khalid rode across the battlefield like lightning, rallying the troops with his booming voice. "O servants of Allah, this is the moment of patience. This is the moment of victory." His leadership turned fear into courage. The turning point. On the final day, Khalid launched his masterstroke. He gathered the Muslim cavalry, his most trusted weapon, and led them in a massive flanking attack. The Roman cavalry was driven back, leaving their infantry exposed. The Muslims struck with ferocity. The Romans were crushed, their lines broken, their soldiers fleeing in panic. Tens of thousands were killed, and the once invincible Roman army was shattered. The victory at Yarmouk was not just a battle won. It was the fall of Roman power in Syria. Within years, the Muslims would capture Damascus, Jerusalem, and much of the Levant. Historians, even non-Muslim ones, call Yarmouk one of the greatest battles in history, a turning point that reshaped the world. At its heart stood Khalid ibn al-Walid, the sword of Allah. His relationship with Caliph Umar. After Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, passed away, Umar ibn al-Khattab, may Allah be pleased with him, became caliph. Umar greatly respected Khalid, but feared that people were beginning to place too much trust in him rather than Allah. So Umar removed Khalid from command, replacing him with Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah, may Allah be pleased with him. When Khalid was told, he did not complain. He fought under Abu Ubaidah's command with the same loyalty and strength as before. He said, "I did not fight for Umar. I fought for Allah." This humility is what truly made him the sword of Allah. His courage was not for fame or power. It was for Islam, for the pleasure of Allah and nothing else. Later campaigns. Even after Yarmouk, Khalid ibn al-Walid, may Allah be pleased with him, continued to serve Islam on the battlefield. His presence struck fear into the hearts of his enemies. The Persians, who had already felt his power in Iraq, trembled at the mention of his name. The Romans, even after their defeat at Yarmouk, warned their commanders, "Avoid the field if Khalid commands the Muslims." Yet despite his victories, Khalid never allowed pride to settle in his heart. When Caliph Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, kept him as a soldier under Abu Ubaidah, Khalid obeyed without hesitation. Sometimes he would be given command of a cavalry unit, sometimes a smaller division, and he fought as fiercely as if he were the overall commander. His loyalty was not to position, but to Allah. The humility of the sword. There is a story that after one of his victories, people began to praise Khalid ibn al-Walid. May Allah be pleased with him, saying, "You are the greatest general. No one can defeat you." Khalid became upset and said, "Do not say that. It was not I who fought. It was Allah who gave victory. I am nothing without him." This humility was what separated Khalid from other warriors of history. Many generals built empires for themselves, craving power and glory. Khalid fought only for Islam. He fought only so that the word of Allah would be supreme. The final days. Despite fighting in over 100 battles, despite wounds from arrows, spears, and swords covering his body, Allah decreed that Khalid ibn al-Walid, may Allah be pleased with him, would not die in battle. When he lay on his deathbed in Homs, Syria, he wept. Tears streamed down the face of the man who had never known fear. Those around him asked why he cried. Khalid replied with words that shook hearts for centuries to come. "I have fought in so many battles. There is not a place in my body without a scar from a sword, a spear, or an arrow. Yet here I am, dying in my bed like a camel. May the eyes of cowards never find rest." His soul soon returned to Allah. The Muslims buried him in Homs, where his grave remains to this day. A simple resting place for a man whose name shook the world. The legacy of Khalid ibn al-Walid. Khalid ibn al-Walid, may Allah be pleased with him, left behind no wealth, no palaces, no treasures. His legacy was not gold or silver. His legacy was faith, courage, and discipline. He showed the Ummah that true strength does not come from numbers or weapons, but from trust in Allah. He showed us that humility must remain even at the height of victory. He showed us that courage is not recklessness, but the ability to face overwhelming odds with patience and trust in Allah. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, gave him the title, the Sword of Allah. And truly he was Allah's sword against arrogance, tyranny, and disbelief. The life of Khalid ibn al-Walid, may Allah be pleased with him, is not just a chapter of history. It is a mirror for us today. His courage was not in his sword alone, it was in his heart. It was in his unwavering belief that victory comes only from Allah. If we, too, live with discipline, humility, and faith, then we carry a piece of Khalid's legacy within us. Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to stay updated with more Islamic content. Like, share, and comment to support our work and spread the message.